Yesterday, 22 hours ago, no, 22 hours ago, on the Ebonhardt YouTube channel, there is a classic WoW dev interview. This is Egrind and another person on the dev team. They're talking about Phase 4, new content, classic. I've got the hiccups. Classic Plus. Okay? Let's play this. I'm going to sit here. We need to listen, take notes. We'll see what the deal is. Now, I'm going to expose my bias to you before we play this. I'm not particularly impressed with the classic WoW dev team. I think they've done really a pretty shitty job over the last 9 months. I'm not impressed. I think that SOD sucks. There's no other way to put it. I think it fucking sucks. And I'm not expecting a lot out of this interview, but we're gonna see how this goes. Let's see what they say.
My name is Ebonhardt. Today I'm being joined by the devs from the classic dev team. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves?
Sure. I'm Josh Greenfield. I'm a senior game producer on WoW Classic. Been at Blizzard for about 15 years, been on Classic since the very beginning.
Cool.
Hey there, I'm Tim Jones. I'm the assistant lead game designer for WoW Classic. I've also been at Blizzard for about 15 years, so having a lot of fun being here today.
Lovely to have you both. So I'm just going to dive into it because I know we only have a limited amount of time. But my first question is, Phase 4's reception has been incredibly positive, and considering how different SOD is from Classic, how does the team decide what to add or change when it
First off, is that true? Guys, has the phase 4 reception been incredibly positive? I don't really think so.
comes to Season of Discovery, considering things have to stay Classic?
You know, I think from the very beginning, and this changes phase from phase, but one of our main goals was to add to the world, make the world as the main character of Classic, and we wanted to enrich the leveling experience as much as possible. And
then why does everyone have a 150% speed boost? If you want to enrich the leveling process, then why does everybody level at 150% bonus speed, and also you added nightmare incursions? What's up with nightmare incursions? Explain that. Make that make sense.
You know, one thing that we thought would be really interesting were the idea of level up raids and how people would integrate those into their leveling experience. And I think that was largely successful. People leveling up are still incorporating Black Fathom Deeps and No Gun and Sunken Temple into their leveling experience, as well as, you know, they were interesting at the time for being an endgame activity.
So when he says that people are incorporating Black Fathom Deeps and No into their leveling experience, this is what he means. If you're trying to micromanage level up a bunch of alts, what you do is you log in once every 3 days, you do Black Fathom Deeps, and then you log back out. You don't do quests, you don't do shit. You log in once every 3 days, you do your leveling rate, and then you log out. And this is the way that you can level up like 7 characters simultaneously. Who here has done this? I did this back in phase 2, right? You log in, you do the leveling raid, you log out, you get more rested XP, and you do it again after the reset is done. And so they probably do have metrics indicating that a lot of people are doing Black Fathom Deeps and No Morrigan and Sunken Temple as leveling raids. But that's not necessarily a good thing.
And I think, you know, I'm leveling a new paladin up on Wild Growth, and I'm enjoying just incorporating doing rune discoveries alongside my normal quest progression in the outdoor world. So you know, I think we've wanted to make fun and cool content that really builds up what players can do in the.
I'm going to pause here again. I'm going to be pausing a lot. I'm sorry. I'm going to be pausing a lot during this video. When he says I'm incorporating rune discoveries while leveling up my character, that means I am having Wowhead up on my second monitor and going where it tells me to go. And it's not that you necessarily want to do I'm going to call it the rune acquisition process. It's that you have to do it in order to get the new overpowered ability that they added to your class. You're not like personally discovering the runes in a super exciting way. You're following a Wowhead guide. That's what you're doing, and you're going where the guide tells you to go. And that's the process.
Outdoor world by themselves and with each other, and that that continues. You want to add anything, Josh?
I mean, yeah, pretty much. It's I think you know, we definitely have kind of a sliding scale, like Tim alluded to, that has sort of changed over time of like what we feel is like appropriate or not. I think one of the things about Season of Discovery that we really like is that it's a great test bed, not just to see what works, but also to kind of see what doesn't in the kind of original WoW vanilla framework. And that's almost as important as the successes, is looking at what doesn't entirely succeed and being able to kind of like put a flag in the ground there and like, let's remember that for whatever we do next. And so that's been super valuable, and I think I think that's one of the best parts of working on this.
Okay, no, thank you very much. That doesn't make sense, because I know SOD has had a lot of ups and a few downs here and there.
Sure.
So you guys need to be aware of something. I am so negative. I am so fucking critical of SOD, and I cannot hide it anymore. In fact, I haven't even played SOD in 3 weeks, and so now the degree that I interact with SOD is watching YouTube videos telling you guys how mad I am about how SOD has turned out so poorly. Okay, so by the way, that's my bias. I'm not going to hide it. In fact, dude, I just blanked. What did he say that I was mad about? Can I rewind? There was something he said that really bothered me. Oh yeah, I was going to talk about the optic shift, okay? When they announced Season of Discovery, I'm a hate watcher. I'm a SOD hate watcher. I'm not going to fucking lie to you. I'm a Season of Discovery hate watcher full-time. It's my full-time job. Okay. When Blizzard announced Season of Discovery in November of 2023, they called it Classic Plus. They were referring to SOD as Classic Plus. That's what they were calling it. And now, 9 months later, now that the game is pretty much fucking dead and the hype is gone and SOD has become a laughingstock of the community, well, we really appreciate SOD because we view it as sort of a testing ground for what works and what doesn't work. That is cope. That is fucking cope, because that is not how you fucking sold it to us. That is not how you advertised this thing 9 months ago. That is cope, and I have to call it out when I see
Flag
it.
in the ground there and like, let's remember that for whatever we do next. And so that's been super valuable, and I think I think that's one of the best parts of
Also, real quick, I need to pull up my favorite website in the entire world. This is the result of their testing. So he says this is a test bed. Listen, if you were a scientist conducting tests like this, you would be kicked out of your university. You would lose your fucking scholarship. Okay? Like, I don't even know. You'd be kicked out of the fucking laboratory. That's what would happen. This is what our tests have yielded.
Of working on this.
Just testing things.
Okay, no, thank you very much. That doesn't make sense, because I know SOD has had a lot of ups and a few downs here and there. So my next question is, with Demonfall Canyon, it's a completely new dungeon, and nobody would have expected that to be added to the game. People might have expected Karazhan Crypts or like other dungeons like Scarlet Crusade. So what made the team decide to go with Demonfall Canyon?
Keep this in mind. Another thing that's a good question. At BlizzCon, they teased a Scarlet Crusade raid and they teased a Karazhan Crypts raid. And we haven't had either of those. I wonder why. Let's see what he says.
As a new dungeon or a new thing being added to Season of Discovery.
Go ahead, Tim.
Oh, you can go.
You sound like you're about to say something.
Go ahead, you take it.
Demonfall Canyon is an interesting one, because like how that kind of the genesis of that is we had one of our designers was working on one of the discoveries for priests, and he wanted to have it integrate with Demonfall Canyon, have you go there for a reason. He's like, well, I'm going to create an instance version of this so I could put higher level creatures there without like jarring phasing or anything like that. And then kind of pretty quickly we're just like, why don't we just make a dungeon? Like, let's just do that. And it I think worked out really well. It just made sense at the time. I think a lot of things we do, like our team, one of the benefits of kind of being able to move quickly and pivot quickly is that we can kind of make a quick decision and be like, okay, let's act on this. We're excited about this. Let's just go ahead and do it. That's kind of one of those things that it just sort of made sense in the moment, and we decided to go ahead and push forward with it.
So I'm going to say what needs to be said here. It took 9 months of Season of Discovery to get our first like new dungeon, because everything else we got retrofitted Black Fathom Deeps, retrofitted Nomuragon, retrofitted Sunken Temple, and Demonfall Canyon is our first new dungeon, and even then they just slapped an instance portal and an instance zone over some terrain that already exists. So this is not a place that we haven't been before, okay? We are 9 months in to Season of Discovery, and we haven't discovered any actual new dungeon that we've never seen before. We're just revisiting retrofitted terrain, retrofitted instances that we've already done 10 billion times. There's no new leveling zone. There's no actual new dungeon. There's no actual new raid. It's just retrofitted shit, slop, that we've already seen 10 billion times.
And it was also to just kind of see, like, let's sort of float this out there and see how people react. And I think it's been super successful. The dungeon's pretty popular. I've enjoyed it. A lot of my friends have enjoyed it. A lot of players that I play with enjoy it. So I think it's been pretty good.
No, it has been an amazing dungeon. It was really interesting to go in there and see it. Like, I didn't expect it, and it was really interesting considering it was scaled correct to level 60 as well. So.
Mm-hmm.
So then my next question is, why did you guys choose to add a new boss, for example, the 11th boss to Molten Core, as the player base is leveling it gone to calling it the IKEA meatball? How?
Okay, I'm going to be so negative now. Here we go. They advertise a new boss in Molten Core. It's the new final boss of Molten Core. You fight this new final boss after Ragnaros. Ragnaros is one of the most epic, iconic bosses of all time. And so necessarily whatever boss comes after Ragnaros is going to sort of like undermine Ragnaros's badassery a little bit, because now Ragnaros is the penultimate boss and he's not the head honcho anymore. Okay, so you have a new boss, and the new boss that they add is so emblematic of the absolute creative bankruptcy that the classic WoW dev team has. Okay, they add a floating lava ball that is stationary and doesn't move, and what do they call it? They call it the Molten Core. It doesn't look cool. It's not cool. The fight is not fun. The fight doesn't look cool, and the name is the name of the fucking raid. The Molten Core. They can't come up with a new cool name. There's no new lore behind it. It's not visually it doesn't make you go, wow, that's so cool. This is the least impressive, most creatively bankrupt thing that we've gotten in all of Season of Discovery. It looks like a floating shit, and it has the least creative name of all time, and it's way less exciting than Ragnaros. Okay, it's just like the video. I keep using the word slop. It is, and that is what it is. It's just slop. It's just disappointing slop. We were watching the Race to World First a week ago. Less than a week ago, yeah. And I'm thinking, okay, they're going to kill it. There's going to be a phase 2. Inside of the floating ball is going to be the real boss. He's going to hatch. There's going to be a boss. It's like an egg. It's like a lava egg. And something is going to emerge. Something so cool is going to emerge from this lava egg. And nope, they kill it, and then the loot, you get the loot, and there it is. And that's it, and that's all that it is. Yeah, anyway.
How did that go down, and how did you guys decide this boss was the right fit for Molten Core?
I mean, in the early discussions about what we would do to Molten Core, we wanted to preserve people's original experience. There's a lot of people who have gathered up all these abilities who want to go into these places that they are now very familiar with. These are not new places or reimagined places in the same sense that, like, Black Fathom Deeps and Numeragon, where they have a much more established head canon than those dungeons that were sort of chosen because they weren't as popular while leveling up. And so we wanted to make an experience that was familiar, that had some mechanics that
I see in the chat, Link at Craig says, I 100% called them using my SOM MC, using the SOM MC mechanics. So a lot of people were saying that. Can I tell you something really funny here? on YouTube. This is on the SOM beta or the SOM PTR. I was leading the very first raid on the SOM PTR to ever clear SOM Molten Core. And so if you type, and so I was the first one that had a guide video. Staysafe, Molten Core, SOM. And the reason why I bring this up is because I have a guide video. Molten Core is hard now. This is 119,000 views 2 years ago. What is up? Okay. This video has been blowing up again. I'm having people go back to this video and start typing in comments and asking, hey, how do you do this? How do you do that? People are going back to my SOM guide video for how to do the SOD Molten Core because it's just the same shit. It's the same shit. And so here's another depressing thing, okay? Is that we all waited 9 months to be level 60 in Season of Discovery. Is there going to be a new raid? Is it going to be Scarlet Crusade raid? Is it going to be Karazhan Crypts raid? What is it going to be something new? After 9 months of waiting, we've been gate capped from level 60. Finally, what do we get? We get Season of Mastery Molten Core. But this time, if you don't have 223 fire res, you get randomly one-shot for no reason. There aren't new mechanics. There's nothing new other than the floating lava ball boss, which is terrible. But it's just exactly the same as Season of Mastery Molten Core. But this time, if you don't have X fire resistance value, you get randomly one-shot. That's what they came up with. That's the first level 60 raid that we get after the long wait. Okay, after what fucking 16 weeks of phase 3, this is what we get. Okay, that's cool.
That were new. That's why we brought some of the Season of Mastery mechanics. It might be too subtle, but there are new things that happen on each boss on every difficulty. We wanted to evoke sort of the heat of the intensity of Ragnaros. You know, the Blackrock Eruption event is also part and parcel with that. That was to signify to players like Ragnaros is in his lair and he's pissed and he's tearing things up, and we wanted people inside the instance to feel that intensity, and people in the outdoor world to feel that too. As far as the Molten Core, I mean, part of it is kind of funny that you would fight the Molten Core itself. What is the Molten Core? Well, it's probably a ball of molten lava. Part of it is, art, where we are sort of establishing our legitimacy as a team, and part of that is building stronger relationships with the other teams at Blizzard, like getting official support from our art team, and we're starting to see that. A lot of the stuff that we've built in terms of new abilities, a lot of that is just sort of scrappy designer art, where we've had to throw things together and mash things from existing spell effects. But we got a little budget and time from our artists to craft us a new boss with some new animations that we.
I'm going to take a trip over to the Turtle WoW Twitter page just real quick. This is one of the fine creations that they have over at Turtle WoW. They've engineered this chipmunk. No, like, bro, Turtle WoW, it's a bunch of fucking Russians sitting in a basement or something. I don't know who the fuck is running Turtle WoW, but I'll tell you what, okay? They don't have a multi-million-dollar Blizzard art team, and they're doing just fine. This is Warlock tier 3.5. And I'll tell you what, it looks fucking awesome. Where's the Paladin set? They're making... listen, this is a raid coming up in Turtle WoW. They're making entirely new places. This is a raid. They're making shit from scratch. It's not Molten Core with 3 heat level difficulties, which is as lame as it Guys, this is Paladin tier 3.5. The Turtle WoW team put this together, okay? And we have a floating ball of lava called the Molten Core. That's the new final boss. This sucks. It sucks, man. Convict, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Doesn't look that good. It looks fucking awesome. It looks fucking awesome. It looks sick. This looks badass.
We thought was really cool. It's a little simple, but it's heading in a new direction. It's a new relationship, and I think I hope people can see that it's the start of hopefully something bigger.
That makes perfect sense, because I did wonder about like the classic DevTech art team and all that stuff. So it does make sense that you guys now have that official support. So we'll get better and better models and things in the future. So,
but yeah, we also wanted to play up the idea of like the Hydraxian water lords. We wanted their story to see. We wanted players to be able to work beside them in tackling and sort of pushing Ragnaros back and the power of the Firelands back. And so yeah, just it's delicate because people's preconceived notions of what Molten Core is very strong, much stronger than
God, I
than
hope they
previous.
keep classic pray for fresh.
Someday. Who knows?
dungeons.
Thank you,
So,
Mushroom. Thank you, Mushroom, dude.
We thought that this was a light touch, but
thank you, bro.
We had fun with it.
okay, that makes perfect sense. So then with Molten Core getting an extra 11th boss, do you guys see new bosses being added to existing future raids like Blackwing Lair or AQ, or even new world bosses, especially with the instance technology?
I think it will look at what makes sense at the time. Molten Core seemed like a pretty, like, we've done a couple of different iterations of original WoW at this point, and it seemed like a good opportunity. It's like let's spice it up a little bit. Let's add a little bit something new. It made sense there.
Let's spice it up. Let's make people wear. Let's make the entire raid group wear 223 fire res. No new mechanics, but they've got to wear 2 to 3 fire res. Otherwise, check this out. They'll be randomly one shot, just for no reason. It's gonna be crazy.
Never say never. I think we're looking at every raid tier and every.
Like, okay, if you want to have the fire res thing, it would have been way cooler to have every boss operate like Saffron does, where every 2 seconds there's a ticking fire damage tick, and the way to mitigate that is to have everyone stacking fire res gear. That's not like innovative, but at least it would be more fun than just having people get randomly one shot for no reason. Don't you think? Because then it's kind of like a war of attrition. You're combating back against that ticking damage over time. At least that's like, at least you can play with that, right?
Every content phase kind of is a case-by-case basis. We're not necessarily looking to set up a rigid paradigm that we follow every single time. Like we could do something completely different. We could scrap the difficulties and do something else for Blackwing Lair or AQ40 or maybe not even AQ40, might be AQ20. I don't know. So there's a lot of different things we could do, and we're not really constraining ourselves to one paradigm at this point.
I will say for next year though, like if you can look closely at what people are building up towards and what we did in this most recent phase with the world bosses.
Yo, Rex.
We wanted to make the world bosses more accessible to people. It's a piece of content that not a lot of people got to experience in Era. And so I think we've been a bit successful. We've been successful in exposing people.
Stay safe.
I am safe. I'm back from my trip. If you guys want to see where I was for the last 3 days or 4 days, you guys can go watch kind of the first 45 minutes of today's stream. But I'm back. Jose, I'm back. Hey, good afternoon.
To the Kazakh and Azure Ghost
Good
fights.
afternoon.
There is a larger than life encounter that ties into something that people are doing now and will build towards more next phase. Could we apply the line of thinking that we had for our world bosses to whatever encounter that is?
What the fuck is this guy talking about? Okay, so he's saying the way that we changed world bosses ties into something else coming up in the next phase. Well, the first thing that comes to mind is like obviously the 4 green dragons. The green dragons come out alongside Zul'Gurub though, not Blackwing Lair phase. So he's probably, this is my guess, there will be some outdoor raid. There will be an outdoor raid, is my guess. That is similar to Azergos or Kazakh, where it's outdoor, but it's inside of an instance. And they're talking new bosses, probably something like that. Yeah, that's my guess. High Jaw for green dragons. Could be. Yeah, who knows? Totally could be. Who knows where the fuck they put them? I don't know. They could do that where you're like climbing up Mount High Jaw, and you have to fight all of the green dragons one by one as you fight up to the top. Who knows?
To
Who
let
knows?
more people experience that and be rewarded by that, maybe. I'll let you figure out what I'm talking about.
No, I have quite a few ideas there. Gonna
Okay.
be videos in the future on that stuff. So now that we are in phase 4 and going through the end game, in a blue post you guys mentioned that Blackwing Lair was going to come out within a few weeks. Is it just Blackwing Lair that's going to be accelerated, or is the whole of SOD going to be accelerated?
Yeah, I think there may be a little bit of a misunderstanding there. I'm not exactly sure. I'm not sure what that blue post, where that came from. Like a few weeks thing. Like, we're not going to put out raid tiers every month. Like, we're not going to do like a 4-week cadence. They're going to have some time to breathe. Now, will it be like the 2019 cadence? No, it won't be. It won't be that long. We're not going to do 4, 5, 6 month raid tiers.
Okay. Well, keep in mind, we just had a 4-month raid tier. No, 3 months. How long was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. We just had pretty much a 4-month raid tier. We just had that. So it wouldn't exactly be unprecedented.
But we're definitely not going to do 1-month raid tiers either. Especially, we've put a lot of effort into sort of the difficulty levels and the new gear. We made 1,000 new items for this patch. Many of those were in Molten Core, like revamped items in Molten Core, new tier sets. We want to let you get a chance to get that stuff and have it and enjoy it.
Listen, okay, you don't get to say that you made 1,000 new items when 90% of them are, we added 1 more stamina point to Bone Reaver's Edge. Now the Bone Reaver's Edge has 1 more point of stamina on it, or like whatever the fuck. Yeah, okay.
For a minute before we kind of shuffle you into the next thing. And so, like, we're going to have a good amount of time in the raid tier. It's not going to be like 3, 4, 5 months, but it's not going to be 4 weeks either.
That's actually good news. I was actually kind of worried about that. I was like, 4 weeks, damn, that's not enough time.
No, there's so much to do right now. Why would we rush you through it? Like, it doesn't make much sense.
Thank you for clarifying that. And SOD is a very popular game mode, even with its ups and downs, like I said. But people have been curious about the future of the characters, and I know every interview, every time you guys talk to people, they ask what will happen to their characters at the end. Do you guys know if you'll be able to
Hold up. Okay, so just want to take a look here. Google Trends. Okay. WoW SOD. I'm going to pull this over. Let's do past 12 months. You know what? I need to give credit where credit is due. I saw this spike 2 weeks ago, and I was thinking, okay, it's going to come crashing down, because that's what we've seen with every other phase. SOD Phase 4 is actually holding steady at 23% of its initial search traffic peak. Oh, you can't see it. Sorry, it's underneath my my webcam. There you go. You could pretty much see everything. I think this is probably because Molten Core got delayed, so people are getting baited along by Molten Core. So it probably this starts coming back down now that Molten Core is officially out, probably. But okay, you know what? It's actually retaining at least a tiny bit better than I thought it would. I'm not gonna lie about it, but yeah, probably. I think that's a consequence of the raid release delay, probably.
Tell people or expand upon what happens at the end now that we're in phase 4? Like, will it be error characters or things of that nature?
We're in a little bit of a tricky spot because the sheer scope of things we've added for Season of Discovery, and we'll probably continue to add, especially in terms of like itemization and stuff like that.
Oh.
We can't put you on an error realm, right? Because like that's just that's a bridge way too far to let you take your 8-piece enhancement shaman set that doesn't exist in error over there, right? Like, but we don't also we're growing attached to our characters too. I've got several characters, two in particular, that I just love playing, and I'm not in a hurry to shuffle them off to.
This is real quick, a little curious thing to observe. I'm gonna hide my webcam again. The only time in the last like 9 months that Turtle WoW has really seen a pop off, this is WoW Sod Blue and Turtle WoW Red, is during Phase 4 release. So I don't know. It's tough to come to to a conclusion here, but you could maybe say maybe people are dissatisfied with Phase 4 or the end of Phase 3, and as such, like people interested in Classic Plus are going somewhere else. You could talk about the Unreal Engine trailer. You could talk about the DMCA that Blizzard filed against that trailer. It's true. By the way, I've never played Turtle WoW personally, but I do give credit. It does seem like they're doing cool things, but I haven't played it myself. Where's that video? There it is.
A retirement home. And so I think that the thing that we've kind of been telling folks is that, like, if you want to make an Atiesh, you should feel secure that you're going to get to make that Atiesh and enjoy it for a minute before this whole thing ends.
So he's got no
while we're
plan
still
yet.
trying to figure out exactly where you will end up at the end, we don't have any firm plans to just say, okay, 3 months after Naxxramas comes out, the server's done and we're making you move and we're shutting it down. It's not.
Yeah.
I don't think it's really going to be that way. We're gonna let it run. We're gonna let this exist for a while, and I think there's a contingent of folks I think that will want to keep playing this in some form or another. No matter what we do after it, and I don't want to cut them off at the knees. I don't think we really want that. So it's a little bit of a wishy-washy answer, but at the same point, like, we want to let you have time to enjoy your characters and where they end up, and we also want to make sure that wherever they do end up eventually is a place that is cool and it's a good ecosystem for what season.
He can't admit to have tried Turtle WoW. He needs to do the no comment kind of thing. Wait, listen, hold up. To set the record straight, I'm not on the good boy Blizzard list. I'm not on the Blizzard good boy list. Like I said, I've become a Season of Discovery hate watcher. Okay, I've played a lot of private servers in the day. I have not played Turtle WoW. It's not like I can't talk about Turtle WoW. If talking about Turtle WoW was a problem, I would not show you their Twitter page and talk about how much Sod sucks and how impressive Turtle WoW's art is. I haven't played Turtle WoW. I really have not played it. My problem is that I'm going to be totally honest here. I don't play WoW. I don't play any video games outside of my stream. Because if I stream a lot, you guys might notice I stream 8, 9, 10, 11 hours a day. And then if I'm not streaming, I'm doing family stuff or yard work or doing dog stuff or whatever, right? So I've got real life shit. So if I and that means if I want to play Turtle WoW, I would have to do it off stream because you can't stream it. So maybe definitely. If I could stream Turtle WoW, I would log in today and do it. I would try it right now. But I can't, and so I won't. And then I don't play a lot of games off stream because I'm live so much.
The Discovery was.
But I've got no problem talking about it at all.
Thank you very much, because I know a lot of people have been super curious because they don't want to put all this effort into their character and then lose or anything. So it's good to know that we are getting something, maybe not error, but something similar at the least.
Yeah. I can't see a world where we'll just delete the characters. That's just not going to happen.
But thank you for answering that. So then my next question is going back to Molten Core.
Okay. Hold up. This clip here might age poorly. He said, I can't see a world where we delete these characters. That's just not going to happen. Okay. So we're going to see. Remember this video 18 months from now when Sod is literally completely fucking dead and no one's playing it. Maybe sooner than that. What happens? Remember this clip, bookmark it.
Heat levels are a new and interesting system for adding essentially hardcore/heroic mode into the classic ecosystem. What was the design philosophy in regards to adding this to the game, especially since for most people, heroic or hard mode isn't a classic feature?
We have such a variety of players in Season of Discovery.
Absolutely.
We have a lot of people with different goals and different ideas of what the game should be and how true to the source material or how different from the source material they want things. And so Molten Core was an attempt at trying to create a lot of different experiences for very different people. And we're still looking at data to make sure that our goals, our design goals for those intentions are.
Is there conspiracy about them pushing retail slowly on classic players and intentionally? Oh, listen, I actually posted a tweet talking about that, I don't know, a couple months ago, but if you want to get real funny here, this is the, I'll type it all out here. This is the classic WoW PSYOP, okay? So first off, real quick, and by the way, because I've seen a couple people ask, we're going to start talking politics once we're done with this video probably, and we have a lot of political news to talk about today. And I'm going to be live all day. I'll be live another 8 hours or 7 hours or something, okay? But this is the classic WoW PSYOP, okay? You have classic vanilla, and then that goes into classic TBC, and then it goes into classic Wrath of the Lich King, and then that goes into... Oh, and by the way, you had... This goes into classic Sod, and then you have classic Kata, and it's a series of incremental changes, and then it has you playing the classic Kata changes. Oh, you know what? They throw in, what do they do? This tricks you into playing Plunderstorm, and then that tricks you into playing, oh yeah, no, at first it goes Mop Remix, and then it's Mop Remix, and then it's Plunderstorm, and then you're playing Dragonflight. Okay, and so it is, this has been, listen, we need to clap, okay? This has been like a 10-year-long intentional plan by Blizzard. This has been, the second Nostalria started popping off, they developed a genius, a master plan, and a fucking 8-year plan to psyop vanilla WoW players into playing retail, okay? And we all fell for it. The reason why they released Classic Vanilla is to psyop us into playing Classic TBC. The reason why they released Classic TBC is to psyop us into playing Classic Wrath. The reason why they released Classic Wrath is to psyop us into playing Classic Sod. The reason why they released Classic Sod is to psyop us into playing Classic Kata. The reason why they released Classic Kata is to psyop us into playing Mop Remix. The reason why they released Mop Remix is to psyop us into playing Plunderstorm. And the reason why they released Plunderstorm is to psyop all of us into playing Dragonflight. And now, the final step of their master plan, the reason why they released Dragonflight is to psyop us into playing The War Within. And this has been an 8-year-long intentional conspiracy, and we all fell for it. And Blizzard wins. Blizzard wins. Bobby wins. You know who came up with this devious plan? Bobby Kotick. Anyway, let's go log into The War Within pre-patch. Let's go, guys. Let's go play it right now. It came out the other day. How do I close that? There we go. All right.
Are met. And first off, like Heat 1, we want Heat 1 to be incredibly approachable. We don't intend, like if you can get a group together, if you have a decent amount of pre-bis gear and have prepared moderately, then we don't want you overwhelmed by the mechanics of the fights. We don't want you to wipe that much. We don't want fights to go super long. We don't really want people to struggle. We want it to be...
So just to be very clear, the difference between Heat Level 1 and Heat Level 3, you get 1 more piece of loot per boss kill, or is it 2 more pieces of loot per boss kill? What's the loot drop difference? Is it 1 more piece or 2 more pieces? How much more? Because I was reading, I think it's actually only 1 more.
A fun way for you to get together and feel rewarded for having assembled a group in the first place and get some cool items. You know, you might not get as many items as people on...
Oh, H1 to H2 is only 1 more piece, and H3 is just cosmetic. So, just to be clear, their Heat Level 3 master plan, the genius plan, was to have people farming the hardest difficulty content for cosmetic gear on a seasonal server with a limited duration, with a limited lifespan. Okay.
On the harder difficulties.
Okay. All right. Okay.
But you get the full experience. And if you want to push yourself to the harder difficulties, then there is that opportunity. And we, it's an...
The thing is, it's not harder difficulty. The mechanics are the same. All you have to do is wear a bunch of fire res gear. Otherwise, you just get randomly one-shot. And the random one-shot, that's not something you play around. It's like you either have the fire res or you don't. You either get one shot or you don't. That's not difficulty. I guess there's a little bit of difficulty because if you're wearing the fire res gear, necessarily you are not wearing DPS throughput gear, so your raid is doing slightly less DPS. Doesn't really matter though, because it's easy anyway. I don't know.
Experiment. We're seeing if fire resistance or resistance in general.
Oops, I ran away from fire res totem. I'm dead. Or yeah, oops, my paladin is a little bit too far. I'm dead. Okay, yeah.
You know, plays well as sort of a soft cap system, or a kind of a hard cap system where it is right now, in terms of player progression. And we've done what we can with itemization to offer lots of fire resistance on tier 1. We also don't want to disincentivize people from playing with all the new items that they get. I know it's a bit more restrictive once you get into Heat 3, but the tools are there. Itemization.
So I keep hearing people in my guild, they're saying, man, I just got a new piece of gear from Heat Level 2 or a new piece of gear from Molten Core, but I can't wear it. Because if I put on the new Molten Core upgrade, then I drop fire resistance, and then I'm at risk of getting randomly one-shot. So this new upgrade I got, I actually can't even wear it in the raid. Excellent. That's awesome.
Wise and
That's awesome.
From enchants, from different items and reputations, and being able to get the patterns from the Thorium Brotherhood and craft those super heavy fire resistance pieces and still integrate that with your 6-piece tier 1. It might not be the exact best in slot set of gear
it
that
is,
you had in
soon,
mind,
soon,
but it
soon.
still allows for some of the really cool pieces for you to play with on those higher difficulties once you build out your set.
I think to kind of expand on that too a little bit, like one of the things we do quite a bit on the classic team is we try and think of we try and evoke the feeling that you had, without necessarily we can't recreate the place where we were at our lives or every piece of the experience that we experienced in 2005 or whatever. But what we can do is we can try and hone in on like what's the feeling and like what's the vibe of kind of like how you approach this, and see in what ways can we emulate that. And a lot of the fire resistance stuff, it's like that was just kind of a part of what you did in 2005. It was like a preparation aspect that you got.
Dude, I actually cannot believe that he's saying this. The way fire resistance worked in 2005, the more fire res you had, the less fire incremental damage you took. The less and it was a percentage thing. Okay, if I've got more fire res, then I can either 100% resist the fire damage, 75, 50, or 0%, or 25% resist the fire damage, okay? It just reduces the damage taken. What they have done is completely bastardized spell resistances in this game to the point where if you don't have the breakpoint fire res, you just get one shot. Now it's like the only reason I care about fire res is getting up to 223. Anything beyond that doesn't matter. Anything below that has no value. All I need to be is 223 exactly so that I don't get randomly one shot at some random point throughout the boss fight. They have just like completely. So even this, we want to recreate that vibe of getting fire res gear. The way it operates, 226, the way it operates is entirely different.
Got together
and also, by the way, a way less fun or enjoyable way.
With your guild, you pooled resources, you invested in trying to develop your character, and then you grew out of that stuff. Like you made a bunch of dark iron gear to survive Ragnaros or whatever, and then eventually you're like, yeah, you know what, we got enough gear, we have enough DPS, we can just kind of back that up a little bit. And that's one of the things that we tried to build on with like the tier sets. Like, I did Molten Core last night. I got 3 pieces of my tier. I got really lucky with the drops, and I already have, but just with that and an Arcanum and like one other item, I'm already at enough passive fire resistance to be good to go in Heat 2. And that's what we wanted. Like the negative aspect of fire resistance was something that was like, I can't wear my best stuff. It's like, well, let's just put fire resistance on your best stuff. And I think it's working out pretty well. I think it's gonna end up working out well. Now, we'll
Think about the problem that they have created for themselves. Okay, they changed the way fire res works so that if you don't have this value 226, you're liable to get one shot at any point throughout the fight. But that also means that if you get new gear in Molten Core and you try to equip it, you will drop below that value, meaning you will get one shot. So the rewards you get for engaging with this new awesome fire res mechanic that they have concocted, you can't even wear. You don't even get to really feel that reward because then you drop below the one-shot threshold. So what they've done in order to alleviate this issue, to solve the problem that they have made for themselves, for no reason really, other than just bad game design, is they've just decided to put fire res on not quite all, because this is still an issue, but on a lot of the new pieces of gear that drop in Molten Core. It's just like everything is getting fire res, although it's not everything, because there are still pieces that you're going to want to equip that don't have fire res, and then you're in this problem anyway. And so it's just like, we created a problem for ourselves for no reason, and now we need to fix it in a really weird way. Okay.
We do resistances. Is Blackwing Lair going to be the Shadow Raid? I don't know. Maybe not. Probably not. Like, that's not necessarily something we want to do every time.
There's new patch notes so you don't get one shot. Okay, and so think about what just happened. If they drop patch notes today, meaning you don't get one shot if you don't have the fire res value, they're changing the way that this system works after 6 days of player feedback. So the players actually, after interacting with this terrible mechanic, after 6 days, the players are saying, hey, listen, the way you designed this is incompetent. They couldn't have seen... does anyone understand that this is a problem? The classic devs could not foresee that the way they redesigned fire res being a problem. They couldn't predict that. And it took them player feedback to realize that this is a problem, and then they fixed it. Meaning, like, they don't know what the fuck they're doing. That means that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. There's no other way to put that, really. Thank you, Tarkle. Thank you very much.
And have just like oodles of useless resist gear in your bags forever. But it seemed like it made sense for Molten Core that was just sort of like a iconic part of sort of the over preparation that players did to tackle that in earlier iterations of original WoW.
And the way that we structured rewards too, I think the intent was for people to start at lower difficulties. Obviously, we provided the flexibility of being able to do any boss on any heat at any time, except if you want to do the Molten Core boss itself. But people who try to do heat 3 right off the bat, it's going to be hard. It's because you're skipping steps. So because you've skipped steps, itemization is going to be really awkward because you're not putting in the effort to get the pieces of the Thorium Brotherhood gear or the tier 1 that people are going to get naturally from going from lower heat levels to higher heat levels. So there's going to be some friction. We're okay with that. Are there ways that we can make lower heats easier if too many people are running into brick walls? Absolutely. Are there maybe some improvements to the sort of the binary nature of the damage multipliers when you take fire damage on higher heats? Yeah, we can look at that too.
Yeah,
but we're learning, and we're excited to look at the data coming in this.
So like this, dude, am I being too negative? Be honest. Am I complaining too much? They had a resistance system that was created in 2004 that was not binary and did not have these issues and worked pretty well. The OG resistance system was fine, and it was not a binary system. It was a damage reduction system, okay? You either had no resist on the damage being applied, or you resisted 25, 50%, 75%, or 0% of the damage, okay? So there were multiple, it was like a gradient scale. They took that system that worked reasonably well from 2004, 20 years ago, and they are the ones that turned it into a binary. You have this value, you don't get one shot. You don't have this value, you do get one shot. They took a system that already worked for 20 years, that is known, that people generally like, and they bastardized it into a binary, and then that caused a lot of problems, and then they had to hotfix it today with the blue post, changing the entire resistance formula, right? It's like you're the one that made the problem. And you had no idea that it was going to be a problem because you didn't predict it, and it took 6 days of player feedback to tell you, hey, this is a problem. And so I'd be curious to see, I haven't looked at the blue post yet, in what way did they fix it? Did they just revert resistances back to the way that it was in 2004, or what? I don't even know how they fixed it, but I guess they did.
This week from the first week of people doing MC.
I don't know.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense, because for me in particular, we went in with heat level 3. we were like, all right, let's go down, and then we went down, and then we full cleared on heat level 1 because we brought a couple new people. You know, not everybody
Sure.
was prepared as they could have been. So it is nice that the heat levels have that flexibility. As you get geared, you can keep progressing further and further.
Let's talk about this. If a raid group can't do heat level 3 and they need to drop down to heat level 1, what's the problem? Why are they not able to do heat level 3? Is it because the mechanics are too hard? Is it because the raiders are too incompetent? No, it's not a player skill issue. It's the entire raid has 226 fire res, or they don't. That's the problem, right? The entire raid has not stacked an adequate amount of fire res. It's not that the raid is too hard, it's that the raid is getting randomly one-shot by this binary fire res one-shot mechanic. That's the difference. That is the difference. Hailstorms, thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Vindy.
So
That's
then,
right.
continuing
right.
on with the Blackrock Mount in particular, the Blackrock Eruption event was a somewhat controversial event, even though I personally enjoyed it. But do you think that adding PvP portion of the event to a hotspot of PvE activity is something you guys will consider continuing in the future?
Short answer, probably not. I mean, like the you know, contrary to maybe popular belief, the PvP realms, the major ones, Living Flame, Lone Wolf, Crusader Strike,
Non-point. Thank you,
perfectly
bro.
balanced
Thank you very much.
on a login, like players, average players on each faction logged in time. And we kind of knew that Blackrock Mountain was going to be a battleground anyway, and we felt like never in WoW's history have the factions had the tools, like in terms of like numerical balance, to be able to have good fights there. But you know what ends up happening, I think, is one faction decides that they want something different out of that experience than another one, and the one that's maybe focused on, well, I just really want to get to the dungeon and do the dungeon, they might have a worse time than the guy who says, I want to stop you from getting to the dungeon. And so that's something we, I think, want to consider. We're looking at the Blackrock event. We might make adjustments to it in terms of the PvP portion of it. I think the PvE portion of it has been incredibly successful. I think that's been pretty much exactly landed pretty much exactly where we wanted it to, in terms of like your time investment in it each day. We learned a lot of great lessons from previous phases when we made that event. And I think overall it's something we want to carry forward, but the PvP sections, we need to rethink kind of like what is good world PvP. And you know, like we say this, we don't say this to give like a cop out answer, but it's like it is all kind of an experiment. We kind of wanted to see what happened, and you know, this is another thing, we've seen what happens, and it's we'll make adjustments in the future.
Yeah.
I will say I love what some of the era communities are
Whatever!
doing with their PvP
Thank you,
events
Brian.
that they're
Thank
doing,
you.
like the battle between.
Welcome to my stream today. Listen, chat, I pride myself. This is the most negative Season of Discovery stream. Listen, all these other streamers, they're like, they have to like it. They have to like it. They have to pretend to like it. I'm keeping it real, okay? It sucks. Season of Discovery sucks dick. They have dropped the ball. It sucks dick. And so, hey, we're talking about it. We're talking about it. By the way, I saw there's another Season of Discovery interview on another YouTube channel. I'm not sure which, but if you guys want, we can watch that too, or we can go talk politics. We can decide after this though, okay? But there is another interview for SOD and for Classic Plus. It's
like
up to you guys.
off the east coast of Barrens. Like
We have
that
a lot
stuff's
to talk
incredibly
about today.
exciting and fun to see. So if there's anything that we can do to sort of give players the tools to have those outdoor spontaneous PvP events, definitely looking into that.
Okay.
That makes perfect sense, because the PvE portion of the event was everyone's like that. I've heard nothing negative about it. But yeah, so it is good to know that you guys, like, the data shows like PvE servers are balanced and PvP servers are just PvP servers at the end of the day, sadly.
Yeah.
So going on, this one's a kind of interesting question, but incursions are probably the most controversial thing out of the Season of Discovery and contributed to a lot of the negativity around Phase 3. The team removed them in Phase 4. But what did you learn from the experience that might benefit Phase 4 onwards, or like next season, or whatever you guys continue?
Ooh, okay. I really want to see what they say here. You guys know I have ranted and raved for hours about how bad and how terrible and just how tone deaf incursions are. I want to see what they say to this. Okay. What are their thoughts?
You're doing?
I don't want to hog the mic here too much, Tim, but you know, I think going into it, what the idea we had for incursions is we wanted to look at like the Cenarian expedition or Cenarian circle sort of like missions that we had and like make that a little bit more approachable and user friendly, because like those were kind of like a proto form of like daily quests, right? Like they were kind of repeatable quests, but they were very cumbersome because you couldn't like share them, and there was this like really weird lead.
There was not a single person that has ever played Classic WoW that liked that content. The Cenarian Circle quests down in Silithus, you need to do 10 billion of these to get your Earthstrike trinket if you're a rogue or a warrior, a hunters too maybe, and if you're a caster, you need to get your Rock Fury bracers. Who here has done those? Every single person hates that shit. Hates it. It's so it's terrible, right? And so why they would choose that, and I mean, it was obvious, but it is obvious that that was the template, that was the inspiration. And now they're just, confirming it. Why did they choose that? Why did they choose that formula as the template for incursions? The formula, the template here that is universally hated, that everyone hates. Why would they choose that?
Like long lead time intro where you had to go and do this like kind of task and then bring it back, and it was a whole thing, but it felt very old school. We wanted to try and emulate that, but unfortunately making it so repeatable and honestly way too lucrative, which was just a miss on our part, that unfortunately kind of hurt it quite a bit. And that's the good lesson, is to really make sure you're looking at these things holistically. Like I think there was probably, I could get into a whole thing just on this, but there's a couple really good
like this is, listen, I'm not a game developer. Maybe it's way harder than I think it is, but part of developing incursions, you would think, okay, so people can have, let's say they've got 5 of these quests in their quest log on average, and it takes them 15 minutes to complete all 5 of those quests. They run a loop. Okay, that means they're doing what? They're doing 20 of these quests per hour. Okay, how much XP should each quest reward? How much gold should each quest reward, given that in an optimal route you're doing 20 of these quests per hour? And you can pick a baseline XP and gold reward value for the quests once you sort of have this thought process, right? Like how do people interact with this? How quickly do people interact with this? Just kind of like do a little bit of game simulation here. Okay, sit down with it. This is like napkin math, right? Okay, they're doing 20 per hour, and we want people to be averaging, what's an appropriate amount of XP per hour? I don't know, 100K per hour. Okay, that means we need to divide that by 20. Okay, there's your individual quest value and the gold. What's an appropriate amount of gold per hour? Okay, I think it's fine if people make 15 gold per hour. We're going to divide that out. Okay, each quest has to reward, 85 silver. Like, just like basic, but no, they didn't do that. They didn't do any of that. The rewards were fucked. Like 10 times fucked, okay? Not a little bit fucked. They were 10 times fucked, okay? And then they started hotfixing and stuff.
Lessons we learned there about making sure that whenever we're looking at these types of events, we're looking at sort of not just like how does it feel to do the event itself, or how does it feel like, what do the rewards feel like, but looking at it all together. And I think we could have done a better job with that. And I think the Eruptions event, it was informed a lot by that. And that lands a lot closer to where we would have wanted, I think, incursions to have landed. And we were able to apply the lessons and make meaningful adjustments to the next thing we did, and that's the goal. And again, like, it goes back to what I was saying, that it's almost as much about seeing what doesn't work as seeing what does work in this kind of seasonal experimental environment.
Cool.
Okay. That makes perfect sense, because incursions, controversial, BRE so much better. So it is good that those lessons did start making the further events and stuff already better.
Yep.
So my next question is, like, the Tarnished Undermine Real is a really good addition to the game, makes people go into dungeons and grind, just keeps the world active and players incentivized. Do you plan on expanding on this currency in the future, for example in Phase 5 and people in Blackwing Lair or onwards? Like, if you guys add new dungeons or things like that, will there be a new currency, or will we continue with the Tarnished Undermine Real?
it's going to be tough to continue with it, because if they add new, really, really high value rewards or new ways to turn those currency points into gold, like you can buy a Black Lotus and then sell it on the auction house, for example, then that really benefits people that are hyper farming now. Then people are stockpiling hundreds or thousands of those currency doubloons, whatever they're called, the reals, now, and then they can cash them out the second the new phase comes out. So this is why every single new phase in Classic Wrath, for instance, or Cataclysm, there's a new badge, there's a new emblem, so that people can't stockpile. In TBC, you saw this problem kind of be an issue. They cap at 100. Okay, so yeah, if you cap at 100, then that's one way to help alleviate that a little bit.
Again, hogging the mic.
You're good,
this is
man.
another thing that I worked on. So but like, you know, the currency. There's a reason we cap them at 100, so you can't bank them forever. And I think it's, I don't want to say for sure, but I think it's, if we wanted to just continue to use that currency for future things, it could work. We could add more. We don't really want to, like, we don't have a currency UI in Classic at this moment, so we don't want to bog your bags down with all these different things, and so that's just something we got to think about. But I think it was built to scale a little bit, to that if we wanted to add more things to it, we could, and we'd feel okay about it. So I no specific plans or anything to announce, but it's in the back of our minds as something we could expand upon.
Okay.
I also think in future phases, like getting your tier 0 set is going to be valuable. Like they're good pieces of gear, and people will continue to be incentivized to run dungeons. And I don't foresee us doing a thing where it's like, well, we're gonna, and once tier 2 is out, we're gonna put tier 1 gear on the Undermine Real. That's not gonna happen.
Yeah.
We want Molten Core and Onyxia to be the avenue that people go to get that gear. So I think dungeons will